Well, turning now to NRA TV commentator Dana Loesch, who is also located in Texas, albeit north of the flooding. Dana, what are your thoughts now as you've watched all of this unfold over the last 3 or 4 days?
Good to be with you, Grant. Well, I spoke with Attorney General Ken Paxton yesterday, and he reiterated what he had said, the statement that the AG's office had released earlier, and that they are very serious about prosecuting looters, and there's not going to be a disregard for rule of law in times of crisis. Now, they and other law enforcement members have said it can be considered a different set of circumstances when individuals are desperate for water, if they are desperate for food because they've lost everything that they have and they're on waist-high floodwaters. So I know that law enforcement is practicing discretion, but in other circumstances where they have been posing as ICE agents and trying to bust into homes, and ICE released a statement about that yesterday, warning individuals who are in the affected areas, if you see people who are presenting themselves as members of Department of Homeland Security or as members of ICE, you need to make sure that their badges are visible, that their credentials are visible, and that they can produce said credentials when asked. And this is something that Ken Paxton had also followed up on. And so it's good to see that really, I mean, when you consider the breadth of this tragedy and how widespread it is and how this is, in fact, when you consider the damage is greater than that of Katrina, that was something that Governor Greg Abbott had stated yesterday. When you consider the thousands and thousands who have been displaced, those who have lost homes, I think right now that the financial hit has been over, I think something around $160 billion. It's considered the worst natural disaster in the United States history. That is the fact that there are I would say so few instances of those reports is a good thing. It's a great thing. And part of that, of course, is due to excellent response by Texas authorities. But then a huge part of that, you and Chuck Holton covered, Grant, a lot of that is because you have a lot of citizens who are going out into these affected areas. They see a need, they are filling a need. They see an emergency, they are responding to said emergency. And these are individuals that, it's not that, they're always aware, they're situationally aware, and they are always prepared. You would rather have a certain skill set when you need it than not have it, and that's the code by which they live. And it's amazing to see that come into effect during times of need like this. And so also the ability, Grant, you mentioned, of individuals being able to lawfully defend themselves if they encounter someone who's using this tragedy as a way to exploit the weaknesses of the affected and take advantage of them. And so we're not seeing as many of those cases as, because I remember after Hurricane Katrina, there were just tons of floods and floods of reports of those coming in where people had been preyed upon. And we're seeing less of that now, but also people are aware. And also, too, this isn't, I mean, we're in hurricane season, and I think people in South Texas are always kind of prepared for certain events like this. And if they're not, there's tons of people there ready to help.